So, live stream folks, you can type your questions if you have any into the chat there, and I'll try and keep up with anybody who's doing that, but it's about 20 seconds behind probably before I'm going to see them. Anybody who's here, thanks for sticking around. What do you want to talk about first? I guess I'm moderating, so I'm looking to see if there's any questions. I'll say just to begin, the novel, The Word Exchange, was written in 2014, I think.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and I read it then. I knew the author in high school, so I read this book. And whenever I read anything, I always think, would this be a good radio play? And for this one, I thought, yeah, really, with the way she wrote, just reminded me, it was very sort of film noir, just the language that she had. The language in the play is, I mean, I had to change a lot, but it's I mean, 80% of the words in the play, maybe more, are pulled straight from the novel. And the way she wrote, just, I thought it would make a really neat sort of 1940s show. And so when everything got shut down with the pandemic, I got in touch with her and asked if I could try. And she said yes. And so here we are. And she said, just opening back up and said, have you got anything we could put into a slot in the fall? And I said, well, maybe. And this was it. So that's the intro. Yes.
Words, I mean, the basic thing, the story, is that words was the pandemic. Is that what the play was about?
Well, I mean, yes and no. The question at home was like, if I guess, well, exactly how much did the pandemic influence the play? And of course, she wrote the novel before we had COVID, which I thought was really interesting. It feels like, in some ways, what she wrote then is almost more relevant now than it was when the book came out. I mean, I wonder if the book came out now, if it would have an even more impressive response. I mean, people liked it at the time, but I wonder if, I mean, it feels like being able to make it into a play has happened at a good time. We'll put it that way.
When I think of Max and when I think of Synchronic and all that, I think of Zuckerberg and Meta.
Yeah, that whole Meta thing came out right during the week of the play, and it was
Weird.
it was a little freaky. Yeah.
Yes, I thought it was really, I kept thinking, how recently did she write this? Could it have been written last week?
Right?
But seriously, all the things that have been happening in the last couple of years, Zuckerberg, yes, and Blue, yes, and all these interconnections that, cell phones, everything seems so relevant, but in a distant way, a strange way, like you might write about 1984 if you're really writing in 1948.
Right.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite things about being able to do it this way. But it's almost like, a science fiction story where you can tell something you can tell a true story in a fantastical way, and maybe people can hear it in a different way than if you're just reading the newspaper and reading this thing. Yeah.
I thought in some ways it seemed like it was being written in the 1940s about something that might happen 60 years in the future, 70 years in the future. It's just so pretty awesome, I thought.
Yeah, I mean, I got that sense of that moving through time when I first read the novel.
Yeah.
So
I didn't know if that was intentional, but even being unintentional, it's pretty awesome.
yeah, well, hopefully it's working. These folks have done the work. I mean, I feel like I did the writing to try it out, but it was up to them to actually make it come true and try it and see if it worked or not. So, yay, thanks, actors.
Another question.
Yeah.
Do you guys do this radio theater thing all the time? Like it's always WDL, whatever. Okay, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's not the only thing the Media Theater Project does, but we've been doing WVL productions since 2009. We created the the fictional studio. And these are the main 4 actors we see, and this is the 3rd WVL show we've done. So we tour It's a Wonderful Life.
Not us,
most
not us
years.
4,
Not
but
these
the
four.
characters, yeah.
Right, right.
Ah,
Evelyn,
Yes.
Kitty, Lee, Mays.
Evelyn,
Although-
Lynn, Keaton, Lee, and May's been played by lots of different people over the years.
The
Oh,
two
I
of
see.
us
So-
have done it a few times.
Yeah.
So the overstory about Joe
Mm-hmm.
passing away and stuff, that would make more sense if I'd seen the other show.
Yeah, I tried to like put in just enough so that people who hadn't seen them would still be able to follow. But yes, Joe actually never appears in any of them, but he's mentioned in all of them.
Gotcha.
So it's part of the
And we
WVL
killed him.
saga.
We killed him,
Yeah.
yes, it was
Yeah.
his time.
This was my first radio play.
Okay.
So when I auditioned, Willie kind of gave me the 411 on what a radio play was, and then I did some YouTubing. I was like, oh, these things can get. I saw one radio play where everybody knew how to play an instrument.
Mhm.
So they would get on the mics, and then for the sound cues, the 4 of them would just go back there and play a different instrument. And so it can get really, really intricate and really cool.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, but you know, it's like for a lot of people, I know I've had a couple friends come, and they didn't know what radio plays were,
Right.
and so they got here, and it's just like, oh, so this is very meta. Like we're watching you perform inside of a performance,
Right.
Mhm.
and it really throws them off. One of the 2 things I tell them is like, it's not a regular play, and you have to be paying attention, especially for this play, because it's a lot of words, it's a lot of unidentifiable words, and if you just blink or check your phone or tune out for like 2 minutes, you'll come back and be like, what in the world is going on? So
We rehearsed it really the way that we would rehearse Shakespeare, in the sense of going through line by line and making sure that the meaning for everything is really clear, and making sure that we're really present to the language and to each other, because we know inevitably, which means like sometimes it's watching Shakespeare or watching a ballet, where to a certain extent, if I try and follow every word, I end up a little bit lost. Whereas if I sort of sit back and let it wash over me, I find that I sometimes understand more than if I'm really trying to follow it every step of the way. So we weren't sure exactly where this is going to land in there. So we sort of, tried to rehearse it like we would Shakespeare.
I remember when I first read the script and I saw all these nonsense words just sprinkled in there, especially like 3/4 of the way through. There were so many of them. I thought, wait a minute, what? How am I going to do this? But once we, as Willie was saying, once we started really attaching meaning to those nonsense words, then it made speaking them a whole lot easier.
don't be shy.
What's happening?
That was my question, was about the nonsense words. They're having trouble really formulating it after taking so much in. I don't even put questions, but, so thank you for commenting, both Willie and.
Cool.
Your daughter has a.
Well, we got a few minutes there. Okay, Bert, what you got?
I was just going to say, I've seen that WL symbol a lot. I was wondering how you came up with that.
The WVL symbol?
Yeah.
What do you mean, like the WVL,
The logo.
the logo, the round one?
Yes.
How did I come up with that? Well, I guess I was sort of thinking about round microphones
Yeah.
and trying to figure out, the logo has a little tower, with a radio transmission tower. And I don't know, I played around with that, a couple of different versions of it before we have the one that we use now. But it's the radio tower with the little electricity things going out from it in sort of a round microphone shape, and
Makes more sense.
Is there a dictionary of sound effects so that you know which one?
Sort of.
For what?
we create so many new things every time, we really have to write a lot down, yeah.
There's a lot of, for some of, this was the most, this is a brand new show with no sound effects. So this was the most like figuring things out on the fly that we've done. For Wonderful Life, like they've been doing that for quite some time. So
you kind of come in and they go, all right, well, this is what you do with this, 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 this.
Mhm.
We already know, like, coconuts and sand, that's snow, shoes. You're like, cool, fine. And so they know, but with this one, it was a lot more like, okay, guys, what does a weird electronic device that doesn't exist sound like?
Yeah.
But it has to sound like someone in the 40s might have thought it existed.
Yeah.
So it can't
Yeah.
actually sound like something real.
A lot of conversations about that.
Yeah.
A lot of
Me
just
and-
doing things, using
Yeah, a lot of people
How does
doing
this
things really
sound?
going.
Does this sound like it?
Yeah,
Close your
yeah,
eyes. Does
yeah,
this sound
no,
like
no,
it?
no,
Yeah, John and I were actually having a conversation about that, where we were like, so we're pretty much the guinea pigs of this
Yes.
play because Willie wrote it and nobody has seen it before, and Willie hasn't workshopped it yet. So it's like all of us were kind of in the same boat as you, where it's just like, how do we make all of this happen and it all makes sense?
It's also,
Telling the story.
Thank
telling
you.
the
Watch
story.
the sound effects.
Mm.
Yes, it was.
it's also the least WVL centric of the plays.
Mhm.
So it was the one that had the most emphasis on the story as opposed to how the story and the WVL sort of intersects. And that was really interesting because we kind of had to remember that the story we were telling, that we were also 19, so you're like doing two levels of remembering. I'm not just an actress playing this person in the future, I'm also an actress in the 40s playing what she thinks is the future.
Mhm.
So I still have to sort of talk like this, and
Yeah.
it's very interesting.
Are the sound effects written into the script, or is
Yes.
there a sound effects script?
They're written into the script. We mark the scripts with, or in this case, my mother marked the scripts, thank you, Susan, with a color for whoever's going to be doing them, and we figured out who's going to do each sound. So that some of them are written into the script already, Willie had already written it for us, and others we would sort of, in rehearsal, go, do you think maybe we should have like a boing here? You know, and then you'd say, yeah, sure, put a boing there. We figure out who's going to do the boing, and then you do that.
One of us would say, I think I can do that one. Okay,
Yeah,
I'm over here, I can do this one. And
Yeah.
then, wait, no, I've got to go up to the microphone here, I can't do that one, so you do that.
It's
that.
its own set of choreography.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And normally, we did not do it in this play. Normally, we drop the script pages as we go, they just get flung.
Mhm.
Which is why the script, we can't really mark our scripts up at all, which is unusual for actors, so usually we get to scribble over this, you can only do your little color-coded thing, so that when the audience members inevitably, before we put it all back together, at the end of the show, start picking up and going, ooh, what's this?
Yeah.
It doesn't have, secrets.
That's a modern word.
Right, we don't wanna have a
Secrets
lot
written
of
on it.
modern markers
Cursing.
for highlighting and things like that, so we had to invent our own systems.
Yeah, lewd drawings,
Oh,
yeah.
yes.
Things like
The
that.
last question is, what's the most number of characters that you expect an actor to be able to do in one show?
Oh, he's made us do a lot.
We should have about 15 actors up there.
Yeah, there's,
Could do 10, 12.
10 or
It's a very
12
big
is
show for
probably
selfish
about
actors.
as many.
Yes.
And that includes people,
That's why I love it.
yeah, but sometimes it's just people come on for just one line here and there, like,
Yeah.
with the guy who drives a truck in Wonderful Life, hey buddy, get out of the road, you know, it's their one line.
Yeah.
Think of the
But
money he's saving.
It does seem like there is a limit to how many the audience can keep track of one person
Without hurting
doing.
yourself,
Like, when it gets above maybe 4, I think is when it starts to get a little harder to find. Next time we do the show, I may move some tracks around and some people around.
The spinning around thing helped.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's good, I almost fell down, so I'm really glad it worked.
Yeah. Like the first week we did it, or even in rehearsals, every time you changed the character, we would switch places.
Yeah.
And then it got to the point where if we did that every time, we would just be playing musical chairs pretty
Yeah.
much, just going back and forth. And so we were just like, okay, yeah, it
Yeah.
would be just too
You
much.
just gotta find the sweet spot. I mean, you'll notice like John does things, right, where he's like, Floyd is over here doing this.
Yeah.
Max is over here doing this. Floyd is over here doing this. Max is over here doing this. And it's like, we really have to rely, feel like it's a radio play, right? Like, but we have to rely on the physicalization
Yeah.
so that we can keep straight of what's going on, who's doing what, and so the audience can help follow that.
So
Wonderful.
what do those scripts look like? How do you know when you're standing up there and it's your part? Do you have it?
We
You've
practice.
done it.
Yeah,
Since
we,
you don't have it highlighted, I mean, I can't imagine.
You just run it enough
Yeah.
times, get it in your bones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At this point, we've ran through this script probably at least 40 times. And so it's just like at this point, you know, I think for me personally, I have to remind myself to look at the pages, because at the end of the day, this is still radio play, so we're like acting like we're on the radio, and the four of us didn't plan to put on this show, but we have to. And so you have to remind yourself, okay, you know, Lee, you're reading this script because you're on the radio, and not the Nick, you've done this play 40 times, you know exactly what you're saying. And just kind of keeping that in your head. And we also mark when we come up and what mic.
Yeah.
And so when you're back there, you see, so for me it's Lee, it will be LCM, so that stands for Lee Center Mic. And so you know where you're going.
And that's doubly important because we're live streaming every performance to the internet, and we have sometimes pretty tight shots. Sometimes it's the whole stage, sometimes we can focus in on just one microphone, sometimes two microphones. It's pretty complex. Yay! And if the actor walks up to this mic and the camera's on that mic, it takes a while to adjust. So that's especially for now that we have this new component. We might.
Yeah, we might.
We might.
She had a question.
Yes, yes.
Raise it.
Sure.
Oh, yeah, I guess a radio plays kind of like a reader's theater.
Yeah.
She
Less
was-
eggplants, but yes.
Really, she asked what.
Oh, my daughter mentioned that at school sometimes they do a reader's theater presentation, and I guess it's similar in that we don't have a set that changes to represent different locations. We don't have costumes that change to represent different people, just like in your play. Right, we kind of just stand in one place, move a little bit, and do most of the work with our voices.
My other job is teaching school. I teach sixth graders with that person right over there. Thank you for being here. And once I started this process, because sometimes we'll do scripts to read in class and try to dramatize in class. I started the last one we did. I started integrating some sound effects that the kids could do that I learned in this rehearsal process. So that's fun. Try to integrate everything.
This play is a really fun sort of integration of a lot of different aspects of all sort of different acting techniques and such. Like I do some voiceover work, and what Willie's saying is about it's nice and it's very tempting to put everything in the voice and just do it all there, but the physicalization, because you can't get away with it, either when you're in a voiceover booth or when people are watching you, depend on that one thing. So getting to do it on stage, in theater, but also doing voiceover sort of, and then also sort of on camera. It's like all of the things
It's
together,
a lot of moving parts.
one experience.
A lot of moving parts.
Yes.
This gentleman up there.
Yeah.
My daughter wanted to tell you that she was on the virtual tonight, and she wanted to tell you guys that it was a wonderful performance, and that she was very happy to be able to join us to watch you
Yeah.
without interrupting our anniversary trip with school.
Oh,
Happy
anniversary!
Awesome. That's beautiful.
That's pretty cool.
I know this.
Yeah.
She has had her hand up for a while.
Fantastic.
Oh, sorry.
All I
Can't
was
see
going
it.
to say is, I was so impressed by your acting and your ability to do all these different things.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to figure out, what is this play about? And
Tell us when you figure it out.
It might hit you in 5 years.
that's why I stayed so long. I wanted to find out
Well,
what it was for.
I guess some of the lines to me that when I hear them, the actors saying them, they stand out to me in the audience. I feel like they pop and have something profoundly like to say about what the play is about. Well, one is just thanks for bearing with us. We've got a lot of new equipment here. But the other one is at the play at some point Bart has this line about language and love. And if I had to boil the play down to something, I guess those are probably two of the words that would come up.
I'd be curious to know what your feeling was after seeing the play, what it was about for you. Because
Well, it was, as I say, I think that your acting was superb. That you can be on one level and be on another level and be on another level. And so keep it, working. And I think that's very complex. I mean, that's what I felt.
thank you, thank you.
Yes, sir.
I was gonna say, I like the father-daughter combination times 2, magnified by 2 is fun to watch.
Also, the
My kid.
tree.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that is his
Those
actual
are-
daughter in real life.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was worried I wasn't.
It's a good angle.
I know. When I was trying to figure out how I would cast a show, I had them in mind. We did a virtual play earlier in the pandemic, a father-daughter play, and they were able to do that for ITP, and it worked really, really well. So of course I had them in mind, and I wasn't sure it was always going to work out, and then it did, and it was exciting for me too. So great.
Yeah.
How many plays have you done?
5 or 6?
Yeah, 5 or 6
Yeah.
plays.
The
Yeah,
two
over
of
the
them?
years. over
Yeah,
the years.
yes.
I was like, us or
Still
them?
on the father-daughter
Yeah,
thing.
it's pretty cute. I mean,
She first appeared, I used to have a theater company for young audiences that performed over at Dinnerwortham Theater. And I was doing The Prince of the Pauper, and so she, at 3 months, no, 2 months.
The number goes from 9 weeks to 19 weeks.
No, it might have been,
so-
well, see, October to November.
she was a baby.
About 6
Yeah.
weeks old, she was the baby pauper, so that was her first appearance on stage. So that's right.
And been independent art ever since.
Yes. Brilliant
Yeah.
performances ever since.
Well, we have kept you here late, so unless there are any last-minute burning questions, I'm gonna let you all, yes,
How long did it take you to learn how to play the theremin?
Well,
Ha!
well,
do we break it to him, Willie?
Can we tell them?
it's complicated.
It depends
It is
on what
complicated.
sort of playing you're
There's some
talking
theater
about.
magic involved.
There's a
There
little
is
bit
some
of,
magic.
little bit of magic in playing the theremin.
There's some magic, and a magician never reveals his secrets. So I will say that.
But Glenna, you,
I do play it.
yes, yes.
I did play it.
Yeah,
Along with
everybody
the rest
does.
of us that also played it.
Let's say there are definitely sounds being made from that very theremin that come out of the room.
Absolutely.
Yes, yes.
There may also be a little
Little magic.
Little seasoning.
help from the guy we borrowed the theremin from.
I mean, at the end of the day, we are acting. So,
Don't tell them.
no, I'm just saying.
No.
This is a performance.
Their ball has been broken.
I like people to believe that I wear a girdle in my day.